have to say that I actually thought that was the time that I really thought, that's it, my business is over. My intuition is not working. I'm not listening to myself and can't trust anybody.
All right, guys, today I'm bringing you Judy Hoberman, a great dear friend of mine that was told at a young age she could only do things because she was pretty. It's the only way she'd be successful. She turned that all around to be an international speaker, TEDx speaker, published author, training badass, and just a classy gal. Man, I really hope you enjoy this one. Hey guys, I'm really excited today. I'm bringing you Miss Judy Hoberman, the president of Selling in a Skirt. Judy and I have been friends for years, and I'm really excited to have her on our show. So she's an international speaker, trainer, coach, and mentor. Her 30-year sales, you got me by 11 years, girl. 30 years in sales has given her both the knowledge and the sense of humor about how men and women sell, work, and live differently, and will enlighten you in learning how both genders can support each other, other successes in a more productive way. Welcome, Judy, to the show. I'm not going to read all that bio, so why don't you just tell us all the fun stuff about your journey, how the hell you got here, who the heck you are, and all those fun things.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I have more than 11 years on you, no matter what it is. So let's just go there. So the journey truly is that no matter what I did in my life, I always ended up in male-dominated industries as the only female. And so with that comes lots of learning. You have to figure out like how you're going to succeed when nobody really wants you there. I was more like a check in the box that said, okay, we got a girl, and so we're good now. And then they wouldn't do anything to help me. So at one point I found some very, very, very successful men that mentored me, but there was no one like me. And you know as well as I do that at least there should be somebody that you can relate to. And I had no one.
Right.
So I started in construction and doing commercial roofing, and then I went a couple of other things in between, but then I went into insurance for like a few decades, and I really paved the way for myself and for other women. But in the meantime, I found that I was also supporting the men who were working with women who had no idea, like women are different and what we're listening for. So I did that for a long time. I was pulled into a corporate gig for a couple of years, which was trying at best for, you're making this money, it's deposited into your account, and you're thinking like, for what? I want to do so much more, but they don't let you do more. And that's a whole nother story. But then I decided at the ripe young age of 55 to jump. I jumped ship. And I left a big cushy position, lots of money. And then I thought like, who's going to hire me at 55? And then I thought, I don't want anybody to, because I only did the employee thing for 2 years of my entire life. I need to be out with entrepreneurs and out with business owners. And so the only thing I thought of was, if I started that day, what was it that I would be looking for? And it would have been somebody like me, somebody that would have mentored me, somebody that would have coached me, somebody that would have said, let me show you the way, not do it for you, but let me just show you what it looks like. And so that's what I did. I started in 2009, and I work with lots and lots and lots of women, but I also work with the men that champion women. And that's very important to understand, that we need to work together. We need to respect each other, and we need to understand how to communicate with each other. So that's my story.
No, I love it. So I just want to make sure I heard that right. You started this at the age of 55. Did I hear that right?
You heard that, 2009.
Holy cow. Okay, so a lot of people get hung up on this whole thought process that once I get older to a certain age that I'm done, right? I can't start anything. I can't do anything. I can't go out and create things. That's just badass. So how did you, at 55 years old, and which is not old, by the way, I don't mean to imply that, right? What gave you the gumption that not only should you do it, but you could succeed at doing this when most people at 55 are thinking life's over, career-wise?
I get that. You have to understand a few things. Number one, I wasn't married at the time. My children were grown, so I could do what I wanted or not do what I wanted. That was entirely up to me. But the second part was I was physically getting ill every day, going to a place that was so toxic that it wouldn't have mattered if I did anything, because every day I was popping Excedrin all day long. You're supposed to take it once every 12 hours. I was taking 12 every hour. I was, and I didn't feel good. And then at one point I remember thinking, did I breathe today? Because I couldn't even remember breathing.
Wow.
I mean, that's how hard it was. And so I thought, I have to do something. And, 55 is a number, and it doesn't matter what you look like, how you feel, whatever. It's a big number.
Right.
And I never looked back. I just thought, the only time I thought about it was when I was ready to jump, and I thought, what am I going to do? Because who wants a 55-year-old female? That was the one and only time I thought of it. And my kids both said to me, that's crazy, Mom. You have so much going for you. Just go and do something. And that's what I did.
No,
and so it's a number. It's a number. You're never too young and you're never too old.
Right? At the double nickel, you started taking on life in a very cool way. I love that. And a lot of people don't know this, but you were one of the first people that I went to when I was getting ready to jump out of my own and said, Judy, this is what the hell I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? And I still remember you were like, Donnie, jump in. So bless you for that. It's been one hell of a ride for me. I just did it a few years younger than you did. So you're out there talking to some of the most powerful figures in the world as far as high performance women, men. How do you find yourself in those rooms, in those conversations, go toe to toe with some of the best in the world? And I've seen you in so many times do your thing, and you come across just so classy and so professional when you have these things. When you're in those environments, those situations, what's going through your mindset, knowing that you're sharing the stage with some of the best in the world and holding your own?
So, it's funny that you say that, because we all, male and female, we all have this thing. We all have these tapes in our head about things that have happened and, whatever. And mine goes back to when I was younger, when my father said that all I was pretty and I have to enter beauty contests because I'll never amount to anything else.
Oh, wow.
And and I did a whole TED talk on that. And every single time I get on stage, before I get on stage, I have to remind myself that I'm freaking awesome. Like as you say, I'm a badass.
Absolutely.
And I have to remind myself that, because you know what? Everybody else that's on that stage, they do the same thing that I'm doing. They have to pump themselves up. And I don't care how big they are. There's still that little thing in your tummy that's going, okay, it's your turn to get out there. And you just do it. They're people. It's all people. But you have to also recognize opportunities that are in front of you, because there are amazing opportunities. And if you are constantly looking down, whether it's your phone or whatever, you're not looking at people, you're going to miss. They're going to go right by you. And you have to be aware of what's coming at you and be open to it. Be open to giving, but be open to receiving, because it's just as hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the truth, because all of us that get on stage, I don't care to what level you get to, you still get those butterflies. People look at us sometimes and we're like, how the hell do they do that? They just look so well, the truth of the matter is there's times I feel like I'm pooping my pants and everything else before I walk on there, right? And it's just a matter of once you start, then everything starts to roll. It goes back to action creates everything.
It's usually like the first 20 seconds or 30 seconds that you're out there. That's all it takes. So if you pump yourself up behind, as you're getting there, and then you get on there, you just take a deep breath and you do it. But if you are, like I used to listen to music, or I would talk to myself, or I'd rewind the tapes, and then I'd be out there and I'd look around and I go, okay, here I am.
Right. Yeah. No, I do the same thing. So I actually have this whole little prepared speech that I go into for him. Like, all right, dude, you're a badass. You got this shit. It's going to let's rock. Let's rock and roll, and let's get after it and have some fun. And the last thing I always tell myself before I walk out is one person. All you got to do is reach one voice, one person in an audience, and life is good. So a lot of people that I talk to, clients and people I know that are listening to the show, have that ambition to get a TED Talk. Right? That's kind of what a lot of people see as the pinnacle of the speaking career, is to get on the TEDx stage. Talk to us a little bit about how you got that, how you got on that stage, and what it was like for that experience.
Okay, so I have to say that I don't know if it was really on my bucket list or not, but I knew eventually I wanted to do it. And so when it was coming locally, I applied and I wasn't chosen. And I was okay with it. I was okay with it, because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do anyway. Well, the year or 2 years after, it came again. And the theme was outside the lines. And I knew I had lots to talk about for that. So I applied for it and I got it. But let me say, when you get the letter of approval, all of a sudden you think, what did I just do? Because It isn't as easy as you think. Now, for me, I always tell people it was the best thing I ever did. And it was also one of the hardest things I ever did because I told personal things, and for me, it was the first time I had shared some of those stories. But you have, TEDx is very structured. You stand on this red circle because they're videoing you and you have to really get yourself in that mindset. Now for me, I'm a walker when I talk, and here I'm standing in a red circle, and you have to have something that is widely acceptable, and it has to be something that's a teachable moment and things like that. So you have to constantly think of that. So a friend of mine does NLP, and before I went on, she said to me, okay, so tell me, when you think about TED, what do you think? What's the first thing that you hear? And I said, I hear the applause, because every time you watch a TED Talk, that's the first thing you hear is the applause.
Right.
I said, okay, so what are you afraid of? I said, I'm afraid I'm going to miss the point of being outside the lines. And she said, okay, what color calms you down? I said, purple. She said, okay, is there anything that's special to you that you're going to wear or do that day? And I said, my wedding ring. She goes, okay, before you put your foot on that stage, I want you to hear the applause. I want you to see purple, and I want you to know you're not going to miss anything, and then turn your wedding ring. Okay, so that's exactly what I did. I got on stage, and I did that. But I remember thinking there was one part that I almost started to cry. And I remember taking my ring again and turning it. And for some reason, my husband caught that picture when I was turning my ring.
Awesome.
And I was good. Yeah. But at the very end, I did cry.
That's all right. I mean, look at Amy Cuddy and her TEDx talks. I mean, I think tears really help put you over the top because everybody knows it's real and authentic. That's awesome. So you didn't get accepted the first round, first time you committed. 2 years later, you get it. So I love that tenacity, which speaks a lot to, which I know you're a badass when it comes to sales. So a lot of people, when they get that first rejection, whether it be in sales, TEDx talks, those type of things, they shut down or they stop going after it. Where did you find that tenacity to continue going after things, when you're getting your teeth kicked in, as I like to call it?
You have to decide what you're going to do that for, because a lot of times you're going to get your teeth kicked in and you say, I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to get rid of it. But then, like with the TED Talk, I thought, you know what, I do want to do it, and so I'll just try it again. And if it happens, it happens. It's all about timing also, because I think that the first theme that they did was not me anyway. I don't even remember what it was. And so maybe the timing was off. But I always say that, you really have to make sure that what you're going after is something that you want, not that somebody wants for you. It's like when when you and I talk about who's your market, and some people say, well, everyone's my market. That's not true.
Right.
Or some people go, I don't really know who my market is. That's not good either. Or some people, like I had somebody that wanted to hire me, and his market were women. And I said, well, why are they women? He said, well, that's the buzzword. I'm like, just because it's,
what does that
even
mean, right?
well, because he said, so if I have some women, then I can, again, check off the box or whatever. And I said to him, well, what are you going to do when we bring women in? And he said, well, they'll work here. And I said, are you going to mentor them, train them, do anything? He said, no. And I said, well, what if they don't work out? And he said, I'll get more. There's always more. And so that's what I'm saying. You have to decide that just because something's in front of you and it's popular doesn't mean it's something that you really want to do. Like there's plenty of people that'll never do a TED Talk, but, it's great and they don't want to do it. Or there's people that will cut you down because they said, well, you only did a TEDx talk. Well,
right.
Hello, you didn't do a TEDx talk. You get up there and you tell me if you could do it.
Right.
So, I mean, it has to be right for you, no matter what the situation is.
No, I love that. And I know, Judy and I, you and I have known each other for years. And I know when we first met, one of the questions I asked you, like, your company's name is called Selling in a Skirt. Do you only really deal with women? And I remember I was looking for you for some advice in my sales career a little bit. And I said, can you really help me? I'm a dude. And I'm sure you heard that your entire career of doing this. How do you handle that when somebody makes the assumption that you're only working with women?
Well, the very first thing I say, because they usually say to me, well, I can't work with you because I don't wear a skirt. And I will reply with, if I had $1 every time somebody said that, I would never have to work again. And they always say, ooh, so people do say that? Can I wear a kilt or something like that? Well, the truth of the matter is,
if a kilt's an option, I'm in. I'm just saying.
I'm just telling you, give me the $1 and go for it. But the truth of the matter is that skirt has nothing to do with the article of clothing. It's an acronym. It happens to spell out skirt. It's standing out, keys to success, inspiration, results, and time management. It spells skirt. But you do have to be careful how you brand yourself because people make that assumption that it is about the article of clothing. So I can never go out without a skirt because people will call me out on it. They have.
Oh,
But
wow.
the truth is, when a dude says something to me, I'll say to them, do you work with women? Oh, yeah. Any challenges? Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's what we do. It's not just about being a female in the marketplace. It's how do you work with women? If women are 50% of the workforce and they influence 85% of consumer purchasing decisions, don't you think you need to know how to talk to them? And that includes men or women, because women don't necessarily know how to talk to women either.
Right.
So it really is about communication, and it is about, being open to the differences. I don't say right or wrong, better or worse. I say differences, because with the differences comes understanding.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And just because if people don't know you, not only do you wear a skirt, but you always wear that badass leather jacket that just gives you that classy, badass vibe too. I freaking love it.
And boots.
Oh, yeah. And the boots, right?
Yeah.
And your husband's a veteran too, so I'm going to go ahead and call that out because I have a lot of veterans that listen to this, so that's awesome.
Yeah, Colonel.
Yeah, the Colonel. He's a good dude too. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
So when you're working with companies, individuals, and you're doing all your training and things you do, I know you're helping them talk to women. What else are you doing in there? Are you teaching sales? Is it communication skills? What are all the things that you're doing along those lines?
Well, yeah, a lot of it is about sales because everybody hates sales and nobody really wants to be called a salesperson. They want to do business development.
What? Yeah. Say that again, but a little bit slower, just so everybody actually heard that.
Everybody hates sales.
Right. Absolutely.
Nobody wants to be a salesperson. They want to do business development rather than do sales, which just cracks me up. But the truth of the matter is we do a lot more than just sales. Okay. Sales is what keeps you in business, but there's so much more. We talk about confidence and motivation and make it a safe space for people to be in. I do a lot with women in leadership. I do a lot with the men that champion women in leadership. But it's very funny when people hire me as a sales coach. Here's exactly what happens. Exactly. We'll go through the steps and we'll talk about, so tell me what's really going on. Well, my sales are down and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what's happening? Well, they're not motivated. They have no confidence, no product knowledge, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you fix all of this, their sales naturally go up. And then they say, oh my God, you're the best sales coach.
Always. Always. And I tell everybody, sales happens between your ears.
That's right. That's right.
If you get the head trash out of your damn head and start fixing you, everything else falls into place.
Yep.
So one of the things everybody likes to hear about my show is the big screw ups, right? What have you screwed up in business? What are some of those failures that have whooped your ass, those type of things, and how you overcame it? So tell us about something that just completely exploded is a strong word, but I like the nasty one because those always remind people that, even though we're crazy enough to get on stages and everything else and talk to crowds, dude, we're just normal people that screw up a lot, right? Mm-hmm. What's one of the screw ups you did that you learned a huge lesson from?
Oh my goodness. I had so many screw ups that I actually wrote a book about it. I did. I wrote a book about all the mistakes I made. Famous isn't enough. That's what I called it because
I love that. I didn't even know you had that, but that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. So I did a lot of bad things. I really did. One of the first things I know that I did that was 100% wrong is I did not have a business plan. Because it was me. I knew what I wanted to do.
Right.
Well, I ended up not knowing how to measure things and, whatever. So that was the first thing I did. But the biggest screw up I did was about technology. And I am not a tech person, and I relied on somebody 100% to do all my technology for a program that I was building. And he kept showing it to me on his computer, how it works and whatever else, because he didn't want to take down my website. And I didn't know enough to ask the right questions. I had the questions, but I didn't know even how to make them into questions. So I kept trusting him. Well, $30,000 later, I actually thought that I was going to shut down my business. I didn't think I could ever go forward because how do I ever go forward if I can't trust someone and then I'm paying all this money and so on and so forth. And so the first thing I did was I was very professional. I started to cry. I did. I went home and I started to cry. And then I gave myself permission to wallow in it for a little bit. But then what I did was I got up and I thought, you know what? I'm going to finish this when I can, right? I parked it for a while, finish it when I can, and then move forward. But every time I thought about it, it would bring me down every single time. So I found somebody to finish it for me, and then I donated it to a women's organization because I couldn't do it. But I have to say that I actually thought that was the time that I really thought, that's it, my business is over. My intuition is not working. I'm not listening to myself and can't trust anybody. And I actually thought that was it. That was it. So, but one of the things, you just have to make sure you give yourself permission to wallow for a little bit.
Agreed. Because even with my business, one of the biggest things that was probably the biggest punch in the face for me was how many companies I hired based on what I thought their expertise was, and later fired. But the problem was, is similar to your experience, is I didn't know enough about what I needed for them to do. So as they started developing, they started creating things, they weren't creating what was up here in my head that I wasn't communicating effectively from them. So they just kept doing what they thought was best. And because I didn't know enough, the relationship didn't work out. So as I tell everybody is, you really need to get in and get your hands dirty so you understand as you hire all these people out, what you need them to do, what you need them to accomplish. You said for you, not having a business plan really hurt you because of those thought processes. And I know you have business plans and things now. What if somebody is starting a business, starting their venture, this, that, and the other? How do they go about getting to a business plan? What's that quick synopsis to figure that out?
Well, the first thing I would say is it doesn't have to be 100 pages, leather bound and beautiful. Okay. Right. It can be a paragraph. All you want to talk about is where you are and where you want to be and how you're going to get there. And it can be as simple as like from today till the end of the year or today for a year from now. Just think about what your vision is, why you're actually doing this business, because you really have to have a business, not a hobby, and then how you're going to get there. And just because you're a solopreneur like many of us are, it doesn't mean that just because you're the only one that's going to see it, that you don't even need to do it, because that was my thinking. But the truth of the matter is, how do you know, like because you have money in the bank doesn't mean you made any money. You have lots of expenses when you're starting. You have lots of expenses, and you spend a lot more than you have, and you spend a lot more than you think you have. And so, right? All of a sudden you're like, look, what? It's the end of the month and I still have checks left, but I have no money left. It's a learning experience. But the other part of that is you have to be super duper focused on where you're going, because we are all shiny object people. Whoop, that looks good. Whoop, squirrel. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, like you're everywhere. You can't be everywhere. It's physically impossible. Everybody that thinks that multitasking is like the best thing, there's no such, you can't be effective if you're multitasking. You have to concentrate on one thing. Here's what I'm doing. Let me get it done. Here's what I'm doing. Let me get it done. Or bring people in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people all the time, stay future focused, because sometimes today sucks, right? Sometimes you're in the grind and, as you said, biggest mistakes that I've made with my business is spending money on things I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You get something and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need for my business. And then you get into it for an hour after you've already spent the money. You're like, shit, I don't need this. Shiny, I just love that. Outsource the things that you suck at, which is huge for you. So let's talk a little bit about, you've got this awesome book that's just launched out. To be honest, I haven't read it yet.
Oh my God,
I know. Well, it's the joys of running your own business. You're like,
I know.
I know, honey, I know. So tell us about this awesome book. And I want to make sure it's Walking on a Glass Floor, which is just a brilliant, brilliant title, because everybody's heard about the women get stacked up against the glass ceiling. So I love this. So tell us about the book, how you came up with this concept and everything you're doing.
So the book came from the fact that I knew I needed to move a little bit over to women in leadership. And so I also have a radio show. And so for the last, I don't know how many years, every single segment has been about something that's of value to women. And it's all leadership. And it's men and women that I bring on. And so what I did was I took the monologues that I do and I thought I could really write a book with all of this, which is how the book came about.
Oh, nice.
So there's 7 essential qualities of women who lead. And what happens is a lot of times women don't think that some of the things they do are leadership qualities, like generosity or courage or authenticity or whatever. They're also qualities things that men should be using as well, but also men can help women even develop more. So I wrote the book. Now we're building a training to go along with that, to bring this into companies so we can, a lot of companies ask me to help them recruit and retain women in leadership positions. Okay, that's what this is going to do. So this is going to be a training that'll help do that, but it'll also teach men and women respect for each other. And you know as well as I do, the things that are going on in the world today, I mean, respect has to be brought back into the limelight.
Absolutely.
So the training out. The big thing is, last year, my goal or my mission was to help one woman a day. And every single time I would say that, whether I was speaking or training or coaching or on my show or whatever, there'd be one woman who would raise her hand and say, can I be your woman today?
Oh,
now,
wow.
That is a very humbling experience.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
No kidding.
So we decided, the Colonel and I decided that this year we were going to do something on a bigger scale. So we have a nonprofit also called Walking on the Glass Floor. And what we're doing is we're taking proceeds from the book and putting them into the foundation so that we can support other foundations, other charities, other scholarships, things that are to help women in leadership roles, whether it's mentorship or coaching or training or whatever. And our goal is to be able to give back a minimum of $250,000 going towards their foundations. So so it's a real big deal. It's a real big deal for us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I didn't even know about the nonprofit side of it, and bless you for that. That's absolutely amazing. So what kind of foundations are you giving to that are helping these women out? Is it education? Is it clothing? Is it walk me through some of these foundations?
It won't be our foundations. It will be yours. So let's say for the sake of argument, you're a company, you bring me in and you say, I'm going to buy 10,000 books. From the proceeds of the 10,000 books, we're going to give you a check for your foundation, for your charity, for where you want to go. So if you're involved in domestic violence, if you're involved in education for women, it doesn't matter what it is because you get to assign it wherever you want it to go. And if you don't have one, then we'll come up with, we'll have a list of some great foundations that are looking for help and support.
That is awesome.
And by the way, women veterans, we're real big on this because female veterans are the number one demographic of homeless people, which is by far the most horrible thing to even be able to say that. A lot of times when somebody comes home from the military, whatever they did in the military doesn't transfer into a real job here.
100%.
Well, it's the same thing, right? Right? So it's the same thing with female veterans. So we want to be able to get involved with some of the groups and be able to mentor and train and coach and do whatever we need to do in order to help them as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And it's tragic. I had the privilege of sitting with a couple of organizations that work with homeless people, and the stats for homeless women on the street and the sexual abuse that comes from that, it hurts my heart to know how bad it is. I mean, it's bad being homeless in the first place, but it's even worse for women just because of the sexual abuse, rape, and things along the line that go along with this. So that's awesome. Well done, honey. Well done. So what's the whole future hold for Miss Judy? I mean, are you going to run the world someday? Where are you heading? Where are you going? I know you've got a lot of big things coming up. So walk us through where you're going.
Yeah, well, one of the things that has never been on my forefront is that Judy Hoberman is going to take over the world. It's never been about me, ever, ever, ever. In fact, I just had this conversation with the Colonel and two other people the other day saying that they keep saying you should just change the company to Judy and have verticals underneath. It isn't about me. I don't care about my name being on there. What I am doing is I want to make sure that people that I get to serve and support are served and supported. So this particular launch with the book and the training and the foundation and everything else is really the direction we're going in. And one of the things we want to be able to do is bring other trainers in, carefully vetted, I might add, because we all know that there are people out there that, don't have your best interests.
Absolutely.
But other trainers that will come in and help do some of the training, become certified trainers and go out and share the message. We want this to be a movement. So that's really the big thing. And it's not about Judy Hoberman. It's about, going into a company, certifying them so they are glass floor certified, which means they're a woman-friendly company.
I love that. Glass floor certified. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
The stamp of approval, like the good housekeeping stamp of approval.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, well, beautiful, my dear. How do people get your book? How do they get in touch with you? This is your chance to shamelessly plug everything you.
Everything, mate. Okay, so right now the website that we're using is sellinginaskirt.com. Walking on the Glass Floor is being created as we speak, so I can't say exactly it'll be ready in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I'm not sure. So Selling in a Skirt has everything. Amazon has my books. If you want to contact me directly, Judy@sellinginaskirt.com is my email, and I do personally respond to everyone. I don't farm that out to anyone. It's all private information. So, that's who I am and that's what I do.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming you're on all the social media outlets, Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Either Judy Hoberman or Selling in a Skirt. I'm everywhere, and I'm very consistent. So sometimes people say, oh, my God, you're in my feed all day today. I'm like, sorry.
No, just say you're welcome.
I always say thank you and you're welcome.
Right. And the name of your podcast, your radio show, what is it?
Is Selling in a Skirt. And it's on W4, the number, W4WN, Women for Women Network. And we're Mondays live, noon Central, and then we go right on to iHeart.
Nice. And I think I'm going to be on your show coming up next
Yeah, you
month.
are.
So
you
beautiful.
are.
Beautiful.
Yay.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on here. I really appreciate everything you do. I appreciate the mentorship as I've gone on my journey and helping me out with all this. So keep being a badass. Keep going for it. And just keep being the awesome you that you.
Well, thank you. And I will do my very best. And if I go out of that role, I know you'll correct me and push me right back in. Course correct.
Yes, ma'am. All day. Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.